There we go. Now YouTube gets to know what's going on too. Not that anything really is going on yet, but it is winter in the studio, so, you know, there's that. So the plan tonight, I didn't really have a plan, but I've made a plan very much belatedly as I was setting up for stream. I asked for ideas in the nail Discord, and somebody said penguins, and you know, that just sounded like a cute idea, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do penguin nails because I can. So I'm gonna start with a sort of frosty looking base, because I figure, you know, do a snowy base. I'm gonna use Arcana Aurelia. This is one that I got in PR a few months ago from Arcana. Trying to remember what the name of that collection was, and I can't recall just at the moment, but it's a good little collection. I'm probably gonna want, I'm thinking 3 coats of this to start out with, so. And I've got some, I found a Spotify station that does just like chill kind of streamer friendly beats. So I've got that going in the background. I don't know if it's loud enough for you to pick it up. If it's too loud, let me know. I don't think it should be. I've got it fairly quiet. I don't have the Spotify Premium though, so I think I'm gonna get like interrupted every so often for ads, so that should be fun. So I'll try and rush and mute it for the ads, but you know, we're just doing our best over here. I should probably just get a paid service for stream-friendly music, but I haven't decided what to do for that yet. I have a comment from a dear friend in the UK asking what time it is. It's 8 o'clock for me at the moment on the east coast of the US. It is 8 p.m. It is a perfectly cromulent time to go live. I'm sorry that it's the middle of the night for you, but really, you ought to live in a more sensible time zone, I think. That's your fault, not mine. What do you think I should do with my other hand? I feel like I should do something. Just throw some kind of color on there. Here, that's what I'll do. I've got this Spooky Shoes from Paint It Pretty Polish that I haven't used yet, so I'm gonna throw that on the other hand, just because I can. You know, I don't have anything on this hand right now. This poor hand is ratty. It's taken a lot of abuse, what with the baking and the colder weather and lots of nail breaks, but that's okay. You know, it doesn't need to be beautiful all the time. It can be beautiful for a few months every summer when conditions are ideal. Oh, this is a really sheer polish. It's my first time using this one. This was in the untried bin. I think I picked this one up at PBE. So it's been sitting in that untried polish bin for many, many months. This is a silly time zone? I don't know. I think it's a perfectly reasonable time zone. I mean, it's the one I've got, so making it work. Really, I kind of live on like Hawaii time most of the time. You know, and I go to bed and wake up at very reasonable hours for someone who lives in Hawaii. Even for the West Coast folks, I stay up a little on the late side, but not as much as Brian does, though. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do 3 coats of this as a base. I think that should be good. This ring fingernail got real stained. I had a mani on for Thanksgiving that I will post in a couple of days. It was very cute, but it had the base for both hands was a Skittle, and one of the colors in it was Wildflower Sunstone, Sunstone 2.0, which I picked up, what was that, like a month ago or something. They had their winter rewind. Yeah, so I decided to try Sunstone as part of the Skittle, and oh boy, is she a stainer. Not quite as much as Slugbug, but pretty darn close. Stained very, very effectively through a peely base and one coat of smoothing base. So, yeah. Good little stainer. I'll have to remember to double coat that one in future, but gorgeous polish though. Yeah, see, 3 p.m. in Hawaii right now. Today was a little extra unusual because of Thanksgiving stuff. Man, I had a heck of a night. I suffered terribly because I keep forgetting that, like, I can't really have more than 1 or 2 drinks in a night anymore without giving myself serious indigestion. Especially any kind of darker beers and dark liquors, which are of course all the ones that I prefer. So it's a real problem. And I had multiple Manhattans, which, for anyone who isn't familiar, it's a cocktail that's made with, I think, some kind of whiskey, usually I think rye whiskey, vermouth and cherries and a little orange, some bitters. But yeah, they're delicious, and I had 3 of them, and I was up with the worst indigestion until about 6:30 in the morning. I finally managed to fall asleep for about 2 hours before the cats woke me up, and then I spent most of the rest of the day trying desperately to nap and failing. So I'm basically in optimal shape at the moment, doing very well. So it does actually kind of feel like 3 p.m. right now for me, because I didn't actually quite manage to get up and get doing things until around 4 o'clock or so. I did have breakfast at 9 when I got up to feed the cats, but... Alright, we're ready for our 3rd coat here. So I got my, I've got my iPad out here with some reference photos of some emperor penguins. I think I want to do emperor penguins. Mostly because their babies are stupid cute. So that's the plan. I'm gonna do some emperor penguins and some penguin babies. And I don't know. I don't really have a design plan or anything at the moment. We're just kind of playing this by ear. I have reference images and I have a snowy background, and the rest we'll figure out as we go. You know? I believe in us. Alright. I also had a very fun encounter at Thanksgiving, as I'm sure so many Americans have done. You know, there's always that one relative that's not on the same side of the political spectrum as you, and they're lovely people. But there was, you know, he kind of walked up to me and started a conversation about politics just out of the blue, and I was like, oh, we're doing this? Okay. All right, let's do this. And, you know, it went as well as it possibly could have, but it was very interesting to me to hear some of the funny places that his mind went. Anyway, let's not talk too much about that, you know? I really feel like did I do a fourth coat on the pinky? Did I forget the pinky? Like, what's going on with that? It doesn't feel any wetter or drier than the others. Someone tell me if I did a third coat on my pinky. I can't tell. This Paint It Pretty is a very pretty color, but it is very sheer. I'm thinking this might be better over like a blurring base or something. This is super sheer. That's 3 coats, and I feel like it actually looks more opaque on the screen than it does in person. And this is on my shorter nails, so not as much sort of visible nail line to really be noticeable, but yeah, sure is a pretty color though. I think it would be good over like in one coat over like a nice cyan base or something. Alright. I'm gonna do another coat on my pinky because I think I forgot it. And if I didn't, it needs one, so. There we go. Just, you know, having a chill time. Alright, let's see. I'm gonna bring up my penguin reference images here. I'm thinking we probably need to have some penguins kind of standing around and at least 1 or 2 baby penguins. There's like a classic pose of the mom and dad penguin sort of looking down at the baby. I think that could be cute to do like on the thumb here. So let's see. I have, well, let's start with the black. Ack, look what I just did. That was good though, because, you know, the sooner we get one of those out of the way, the better off we are for the rest of the stream, right? I don't know if I'm going to be able to fix that, y'all. I might just have to wipe this one and start again with it. Alright, I'm going to wipe this one and start again. Yeah, that was a real good smudge. That was an extra spicy smudge. I don't know if we have enough people in here to have F's in the chat today, but, you know, maybe if anybody is watching the VOD later on, you can just post an F for me in the comments. Oh, I have one open already here. Alright. There's that peely base. Always comes off so weird, the peely base, when it's fresh like that. Alright. Come on. Alright, we'll put a fresh bit of base on here. So relatable, yeah. Well, you know, happens to everybody, I'm sure. That's all good. You had to wash dishes in order to make popcorn? That is the worst. Well, I messed up this thumbnail by managing to swipe this thumbnail across it, so you haven't missed too much, except that I got my base down over here. Alright, so I'm gonna get some black creme out. And start sketching in one of these here little penguins. And I think I'm going to start with sort of a classic three penguin pose here. I think we have like a little arm wing thing. It's not very wing-like. And then they have their little butt. It's kind of little penguin butt kind of back here. And let's see. Looks like the head should come up around here, I think. And that needs to be a little thicker. Okay, and then the face, I'm gonna have a beak down about here. I'm just sort of sketching in the rough shapes of the black areas right now. If that's not clear to anyone. And we'll let the white areas define themselves partly by lack of shading. I am gonna probably gonna have to do some white creme in here because I'm definitely gonna mess up enough that I need to do that, so. Probably should have put a glossy top coat down before I started on this part, just so that I can have some erasing buffer, but you know, hindsight's 2020. Too late to do that now. At least for this nail. Suppose I could do it for the other nails, but am I going to? Seems unlikely at this stage. Okay. So there's one little penguin, at least its blacker parts. I don't think that head is quite right, but yeah, that's better. There we go. Okay. And then the other one is going to be kind of a mirror of that. And also quite close. So we'll start here, and hopefully I'll be able to do it without making this one look completely janky. Sometimes having it mirrored is easier because you have an example right there, and sometimes it's harder because there's an example right there to compare it to, and when you messed it up, oh boy, did you ever mess it up. Definitely need to come out a little further here. Okay. Now, that little wing bit. I don't know, do we call them wings on a penguin? I mean, they're a bird, so I guess it's a wing, but it's more flipper-like than wing-like. Seems kind of weird to call it a wing. I mean, ultimately, I suppose they're sort of the same thing, but... There we go. And then bring this part up. Wing flipper. Whipper. Fling. Oops, I snorted and messed up my line a little bit there. Oh well. Definitely gonna have to add some white in there to define those spaces a little better, because currently they are not quite the right shape. Okay. So let's get our white out. And we're also going to need, actually, let's do the, yeah, no, we'll do the white first. I should know that better than to laugh and paint, it's true. But, you know, I can't really do anything and paint at the same time, so, or, you know, talk and do anything at the same time. So, no matter what happens, I'm very likely gonna make a mess, like I just did. So I might as well just embrace the chaos, right? Okay, so there's the sort of whitish color. We're gonna have to do some mixing and get a gray in there. I am gonna have to come back in there and redefine some of that beak a little bit, I think. There we go. Multitasking, yeah. Cat, I do not multitask that well. I'm sad to say. It's funny because there's some things where like I can't do them at all unless I'm doing multiple things at the same time. Like I can't focus on listening to something if I'm not also doing something with my hands. But I can't actually like engage my brain on more than one thing at a time. And unfortunately, doing anything with your hands does involve engaging your brain to some extent. My paint is getting just a little bit gummy here, so I'm gonna have to do a little cleanup on that. All right. Well, I'll just use a bit of thinner. We'll just use a bit of thinner because I'm going to need to have a little more white out here, thinned out anyway, so. Yes, I put my brush in my mouth. That's why I sound like this. I'm sorry. You know, you gotta store the brush somewhere. Might as well be in your mouth. As long as you're not putting the end that had any paint in it in your mouth, you're fine. Right? I assume. Probably. Seems like it should be okay. I haven't died yet. Alright. You must go. Alright, Sassy. Have a good night. I'll see you later. Alright. Now we do need some gray areas here, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull some of that thinner that I put down into the black area and get some gray mixed up. So I need to bring up my reference again here is what I need. There we go. Okay, so this part goes gray up here. And then this part is a bit gray. And then this part is a bit gray. Oh, we're getting an ad now. Let me just try and mute the ad a little bit here. We'll just give it a minute for that to pass. Hopefully it will go by quickly. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to find some kind of a source for some royalty-free beats that I can play in the background that do not have ads, because ads are not it. You know what I mean? That's okay though. You know, we'll cope with it for now. Okay, so now we need to go back in and redefine some of the black on the head that got lost when I put in the detail in or when I put in the white background there. So we'll just come back in here. And I think my music is going to come back now. Yeah, there we go. All right, get a little more black in here where this wing is. And we gotta fix this because I really messed this part up. Got that big white streak across it. That's not nice. Don't love that. Okay. That's looking pretty decent so far. I am reasonably happy with this. Now, these guys have just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of red up on their head that then fades out into an orange and a yellow. So I'm gonna try and get that looking correct. It's just a little red right there. Little red right there. Not entirely happy with how that one came out. Okay, there we go. And then, so I'm just using the Hello Taco cremes for this. I think this one's left on red. And Oh My Gourd, and then Butterscotch Hop. For the black and white, I'm using a couple of Monarch black and white polishes. The black is Nocturnal Noir, and the white is Winter Lily. I kind of have like a few different brands that I tend to go to for my my YouTube camera stopped, hopefully not too long ago. Yeah, I have a few different brands that I tend to go to for cremes, and these are two of them. I don't tend to go for the cheaper mainstream ones. I know that like some of them can be fine, but I started my collection back when I was still living in Canada, and the options were pretty limited up there for anything sort of vaguely affordable. So I basically found that like the more expensive indie brands were still only a couple bucks more than what I was getting in the drugstore, for better variety and quality in many cases. So, and then I just kind of stuck with it when I moved down to the States because I was used to using them, and yeah, I'm happy with them, so that's good. There we go. What do we think? Does that look like some penguins? I'm gonna put a baby between them. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do penguins quite this detailed on every nail. I might have to just do a couple of nails and then maybe do some snowflakes or something on the other nails. Otherwise, I can see this becoming a very long process indeed. All right, the baby is mostly gray. It's a big old gray fluff ball. So let's do a little cleanup here. That is very cute though. I'm quite pleased with this so far. Okay. So with Emperor Penguin babies, the back is actually a lighter gray than the front, which is interesting. And it almost, I think it's a pretty neutral gray. I think we can just stick with plain old black and white and mix what we need as we go. All right, so for this baby, I'm gonna do a little wing there. He's gonna be kind of a round little lump of a friend. We'll get some definition in there, don't you worry. He's just very little. And then we need more black for the tum. There we go. Define that wing a little bit. He's got sort of a little toddler tummy. They sort of have more gradually shaded sort of bodies. It's interesting. The adults are very sort of stark. There's, you know, mostly sort of either it's black or it's white. And there's very little sort of gradient in between. But the babies are just little lumpkins that are fuzzy as heck. All right, so for the head, we're gonna have a teensy little noggin. They're just little lumps. It's like the babies are wearing a weird little hat. There we go. And then we need a bit of white for the eye area. Hey, Couch Potato, welcome. We're just making some cute baby penguin action here. We got a couple of adults. And now we're doing the baby. I do think I need a little bit more of a blend back here, where the black goes into the gray. Yeah. I'm blending directly on the nail here, which is not usually the most precise way to do it, but sometimes ends up being a little easier. Back a little more black right there. Okay, and then we just need the eye, which is just going to be a tiny little dot right there. Dun dun dun! Look at that little friend. Do you feel like the eye might be a little far back? What do we think? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's all right. How picky am I going to get? That's the real question. How picky am I going to get with this little friend? It is an awfully small creature in which to be picky. I think that's better though. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Okay, first round of penguins done. Now we got to figure out what we're going to do for the rest of the penguins. I'm thinking I might want like just babies, one nail having just babies. Like a little flappy arm baby. That could be cute. All right, let's bring up this one. I've got little, lots of little reference photos here of emperor penguin families and babies and gatherings. Okay. So, I'm gonna need a little bit of black and a whole lot of white. A little more than that, please. See how that gets us. I do have gray polish. I have gray cremes, but a lot of the time for this kind of thing, when I know I'm going to be doing a gradient anyway, I tend to prefer to use just the black and the white and mix them, because different gray cremes can have different undertones. And if you mix gray with like a warm undertone, for instance, in with a black with a cool undertone, it can kind of like screw up the shading of the gradient. It ends up looking weird. So yeah, kind of avoiding any weirdness that way, by just mixing up my own. And like, it's possible that I own a gray that is precisely the right tone to mix with this black and white, but I would have to do some experimentation to find that out for sure. And that can be a little time consuming to do ahead of time and annoying to do on on the go. So this is my solution. All right, these little guys have some ham hocks, I'll tell you. Little penguins have some serious ham hock action going on. All right. A little bit of a slightly lighter shade happening on this side. And then I want a little bit of a slightly darker shade happening over here. Not that much darker. Come on, back it off. There we go. I do need some thinner here. Starting to get a little bit too thick in here. All right. So I want the legs to be a little darker, or like the little feet area a little darker, partly because it's in shade, although it looks like they are also a darker color, slightly. It's kind of hard to tell in these photos. But definitely they are in shadow. And then, gosh, they are goofy little critters. All right, get these little flappy arms going. Little fuzzy flappy arms. They are completely ridiculous animals. That one is a little too long, I think. I'm gonna have to dial that back a little. Oh boy. And I got a little fuzz on the nail here as well. That's not good. Come on, get off of there. All right, this is why we have a cleanup brush. Just gonna very gently come in here. Don't want this brush too wet. It just has to be a tiny bit moist. And then we will gently come in and clean up that edge. There we go. All right, now we have a little white noggin with a black hat on. We are going to have to put re-add some black into this area, but that's okay. I'm just trying to get the general shape of the head. I went down a little too far there, I think. Just cover that back up with some gray. It's one of the nice things with painting this way is it is easy to just fix your mistakes real quick as you go along. Okay, so we have the little sort of beak area, and then, oh, that's gonna end up being a little bit too high, I think. We'll have to probably tweak that a touch. And bring that around. And that little sort of almost forms a little strap here out to the side. Definitely gonna have to edit this black area down a bit. That's all right. We push and pull, right? There we go. Oop. That's looking a little better. We're almost there. We're almost there for this guy. Okay. Now, try and put a tiny little eye in there. Looks a little goofy, but he's a cutie. I'll forgive him for looking a little goofy. I think he looks like a penguin. I don't know. What do you think? Does he look like a penguin, or does he just look like a weird lump? Maybe he's just a weird lumpy penguin. That would be okay too. I'm gonna put a little bit of a lighter gray tone in a few spots to try and give him a bit more definition. It's difficult because they are just kind of little lumpy dudes, you know? There, I think that helped a bit. All right, so we have our little family there, and we have our one little guy here. Maybe another adult on the ring finger. Let's see. The adult can be sort of looking more straight ahead. Hey, Steffi Mannies. We're doing some cute little penguins, and now that I'm revisiting this nail, I'm noticing that I have a tiny little area I want to tweak just right there. Is that better? It's a little better. It's not perfect, but you know, few things in life are. I'm gonna call it good enough. Okay. Now for, wait, should I do this as a full standing penguin, or should I do this nail as like more of a close-up? I'm kind of feeling a close-up. Just like have more like just the face. Like what if I had just like as though this guy's in the foreground, sort of looking this direction. So it's just like the head and a little bit of neck. That could be kind of cute. Maybe that could be cute. I don't know. Let me clean this up and take a sip of water. Decide whether I want to try and do a close-up penguin portrait on one nail or whether I want to do another full standing penguin. We're at 8:50 right now, so we do still have some time. I'm thinking the portrait, because that way I can also bring in a little bit more of the color, which I think is fun. So let's see here. We've got kind of a, we'll just roughly brush it in here, get a vague sense of where we're going with this before doing too much. Maybe like that. And then it'll have sort of this kind of a shape. And it'll have a shoulder piece that comes up. And this part continues back a little bit. And then we just have to be careful not to make it look too much like a goose. Okay. All right, I think that's what we're gonna do. So the beak is a little sort of longer and more curved than I'd really realized on these guys. I've never actually tried to paint a more realistic sort of penguin before tonight. So I'm sort of surprised at some of their proportions are not what I would have expected to see. There's going to be a little yellowy area in there. There's going to be this lower beak. And then trying to sort of look at the black part of the head in my reference photo as just like not being a penguin face, but instead just being like a shape, you know? So what does that shape sort of look like? Rather than try and draw a penguin, I'm trying to draw a black shape that later on is going to be part of what a penguin looks like. Does that make any sense? Am I talking crazy talk? There's this idea in painting where you're sort of, you have to, when you're learning to paint, you have to sort of unlearn a lot of stuff because, you know, you have these like ideas in your head about what things look like, and sort of more a representative icon of what the thing looks like than what the thing actually looks like, which is why people are often surprised when they stop trying to draw an eye and start trying to draw the shapes that are in an eye, that they suddenly are able to make much more realistic eyes. It's a sort of a classic one, because everybody sort of has an idea in their head of what a person's eye looks like. And it's mostly really wrong. We all recognize this like sort of almond-shaped symbol of what we think of as being an eye shape, but it's actually weirdly complex. And so it can take some time to sort of unlearn the iconography of what parts of the body look like. I'm getting some art school musings tonight. Alright, I feel like this shape isn't quite right, but it's probably close enough to roll with, at least for the moment. And this beak is definitely slightly short here. There we go. It looks a little better. And I think we need to go just a little bit more of a curve down here. There we go. It looks like a goose right now, doesn't it? It looks alarmingly like a goose at the moment. Don't worry. Have faith. We'll get there. I promise we'll get there. We want white next. Actually, we're not. Well, yeah. We'll do the white next. It's there's a bunch of different layers of color in this. I'm almost ready for a new white creme. I probably should have picked up one of those. I was trying not to like buy stuff for Black Friday. I've been doing this like, oh, that's what the problem is. Okay. I've just now realized that I didn't actually have the right angle up here, so I'm just gonna do a quick. As soon as I started putting in the white, it became abundantly clear what I had messed up on the black. This actually just needs to come more this way. Like by a fair bit. There we go. And then we're just going to cover that up with white. Yeah. So I've been trying not to buy too much stuff for Black Friday. It's really easy to get sucked in and be like, oh my god, there's so many pretty things and there's so many really good sales. And, you know, as somebody who does some swatching and like, you know, part of my, like, I want people to buy the things and like the things. It's like, it's good if they do, but also I don't like the feeling that like I'm part of some machine that's pressuring people to spend money they don't have. I think it's something that a lot of us sort of struggle with. Because you don't want to be like encouraging people to make bad decisions for themselves, you know what I mean? So personally, the rule that I make is if I didn't already plan to buy it, I'm not buying it just because it's on sale. And I'm not adding extra stuff to my cart to make free shipping. And I'm not adding extra stuff to my cart to get a gift with purchase or some extra. It's just, was I planning on buying it? Would I buy it at the regular price? And if those are both a yes, then I'll buy it. And otherwise, I'm trying to be real good and not do that. And that still led me to more than enough Black Friday purchasing, I assure you. So much good stuff out there. All right. So, hello, welcome. Whoop, I just immediately started painting on my skin there. Let's get that cleaned up real quick before we get into the next color. I think it's starting to look penguin-y, so that's good. We're getting there. We're gonna need some of this red. Oh, you're having some internet issues? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It's annoying. Well, I will, of course, be posting the VOD. If you did want to see anything that you missed, or you just want to listen to me rambling about art school or Black Friday, don't know why you would want to, but, you know, if you do, that stuff will be on the VOD. Okay, get a little of this orange. I, of course, am recording this on the YouTube camera as well, so I will be editing that out and posting on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. Probably, if not tomorrow, maybe the next day. I'll try and get to it fairly quickly after. But it'll be up on my Instagram feed, like, basically right away. Okay, there's our orange section. And then we bring in our butterscotch hop. This, try and kind of get a little bit of a gradient happening here. There we go. it is really weird because you're like, you're functionally, you know, having a conversation with yourself, but people are watching you and and listening to you. And that's a weird thing. And there's a certain amount of feedback, you know, because you write things in chat and such. But it's not quite the same as, you know, having a person in the room with you that you're sort of having a live discussion with. There's a little bit of a delay, and you know. Yeah, Coach Potato, I think you were one of my first YouTube subscribers, actually. I appreciate you, friend. You know, someday I'll have 1 million followers. Today is not that day. Okay, do I even want that though? I mean, that seems like it would be a lot. I need some yellow on that part of the beak there. Oh, and let me get my, yeah, okay. Just had to double check my reference. That's not bad. Maybe a little bit more down. There we go. All right, and then we want to add a little bit of black and white gradient in here on the back, sort of the side back as it comes off. Like this area down in here is going to have a little bit of gray coming up into it. I don't want it to be too abrupt. And we're not going to get all the way down into gray, or into black rather, because that happens a little further down, but can at least get the gradient started here. There we go. There we go. And then this part here should still be black. There we go. All right. And then I am going to add just a tiny little bit of definition there. I think that might have been a bit too abrupt, so I'm actually going to take my cleanup brush and just soften it the tiniest bit here. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay. All right, now, where's that eyeball? It is really hard to see in this photo. I can almost not see it at all. But there is just a tiny little, just a speck. And I don't think I want to use a glaring white for it, even though, you know, obviously the highlight would be white. But at this scale from this far away, I think that's just going to look too harsh and sort of cartoonish if I do it in white. So I think I'm going to use just a little bit of gray instead. And a darker gray sort of beside it. Whoop, that was too much. Too much. Pull it back, pull it back. You see? Sometimes we gotta screw up. There we go. That looks a little better. There's just like a hint of an eye in there. You can see it, but it's not like cartoony, sort of bright. which I think it would be if we did too much more than that in this. All right. Well, I think that's pretty cute. I don't know if I want to do more. Do I want to do more? I'm concerned that if I try to do more, then I'll ruin it. You know what I mean? Like, maybe this is enough. I think I'm going to call it there. Yeah, I think that's the right thing to do. My little emperor penguin friends. Got our little family, and little baby. And this little friend spreading his wings. Such a goofy little thing. There we go. It looks perfect. Thank you, Couch Potato. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. And I know it's not the ideal night to be hanging out on a stream for a lot of people. I kind of figured that I wouldn't really have very many people here, but I just wanted to do my nails and I wanted to stream it. So I appreciate you for coming by. And thank you, Cannibal. I'm finished now though. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put a coat of seal glaze on it because if I try and top coat this, I am 100% gonna smudge it. We do not want that. So lately I've been using the DRK seal glaze. I still also sometimes use the Apipila water-based smudge-free top coat. Both are really good. I really like both of them. But the seal glaze, I think I like because I bottled it myself from a refill bottle that I bought, and so because I was able to choose the brush, I used a brush that I like. So I prefer the brush on the seal glaze, which is the only reason that I'm using that rather than the Apipila more often. But both work really well for just protecting nail art that might otherwise smudge on you when you put the top coat. So top coat, and then I usually wait a little longer than I would for standard top coat or a regular polish. I usually try and give it at least 10 minutes before I do a regular top coat on top of it. Just because it is not the same chemicals, and so I think if you move too quickly and put on extra layers too quickly, sometimes you can end up having some bubbles. What is the difference between this versus a top coat? Well, yeah, so it's different ingredients. So like a regular top coat uses the same solvents as the nail polish itself does, which is, usually what you want, right? You want something that's going to sort of soften the layer underneath it and penetrate it a little bit and help it to dry faster, right? That's sort of what most top coats are doing, as well as providing a nice shell coating. But with these ones, they're usually water-based, or they'll have some other solvent that the ingredients in regular nail polish are not going to dissolve in. And so whatever you have done on the nail polish, whether that's like a magnetic design that you want to really make sure it doesn't dissipate with the top coat, or whether it's something like very intensely colored cremes that may very well streak, anything like that, you use a top coat that has a different kind of solvent, and that will protect whatever is underneath it from the top coat when you put a regular top coat on it. And you do want to use a regular top coat on top of it because these kinds of top coats don't tend to be protective, right? If you think about the fact that most of them are water-based, then what we're really talking about is we have something that's like going to potentially wash off as you're washing your hands and stuff. So it's not really going to be a protective top coat, and it doesn't do anything to dry the layers underneath. So you do need to give it a little more time to dry. And then, yeah, you put another top coat over top of it, and that does the regular top coat work where it sort of protects everything. But it doesn't soak into the layers underneath it. Does that answer the question? Was that too winded, or too long-winded rather? I am a wordy woman. Let me just show this to the YouTube camera here so they can see this cute little friends that I've made. Here we go. I usually add some photos for the YouTube camera as well, but okay, I think it's probably dry enough to use a regular top coat now. If the nail art that I had done under it was more like thicker, if I'd done thicker nail art under it, I would have definitely waited longer. But just because, you know, you can end up with some bubbles if you move too quickly, but this is fairly thin nail art, so I did not have many layers of globby stuff. So I'm just going in with a standard top coat now. This is Abomination nail polish. They sent me that one as part of a PR package a while back. And it's a pretty good little top coat. I like it. I use it a lot. I have many different top coats that I use for many different purposes. This is one of the ones that I like for my last layer on top of a nail art, because it tends to be a little bit less smudgy as well, and so using it on top of the seal glaze feels like an extra layer of insurance. Some of the ones that are super smudgy can sometimes eat through even a water-based top coat if it's thin enough. So, an extra level of protection using a top coat that I know isn't quite as smudgy to start with. The other thing is, do I want to add a matte top coat? Because it kind of seems like this mani would be good with a matte top coat. I sort of like the idea of doing a matte top coat on this, especially to cut down on the glare. You think yes, matte top coat? Or is that yes from earlier on? Now both? All right. Yeah, I think a matte top coat will be cute. Matte and my explanation was good? Okay, I'm glad. All right. Top coat seems to be dry enough to go in for the matte coat now. I like to do my matte top coat fairly thick because if I go too thin, sometimes I find I end up with like streaks where I somehow manage to miss a little bit. Oh, I got another ad going here on my background music. I'm just gonna turn that volume down a little. Emperor penguins are your favorite penguins? I don't know if I have favorite penguins, but I do think that emperor penguin babies are maybe the cutest penguin babies. So I kind of think that all penguins are pretty great, but the baby emperors are just, they're like extra, they're extra silly. I'm just broadly sort of, I have a hard time picking favorites among anything because I like all the things so much, you know? Especially when it comes to animals. Like, how can you not love every single animal? They're all so good. Look at this friend. I did end up with a little bit of smudging. It must have been, oh, that's interesting. I wonder when that happened. If that was the seal glaze that did that, or, I haven't had that before with this combo. Oh well, no big deal. What matte top coat am I using? That's the Holo Taco Matte Taco. It's the only one I've ever used. I don't have any basis for comparison. I've never tried another matte top coat. This is the very first bottle of matte top coat I ever purchased. You can see that I use it a lot. I think I've had it for like 3 years. I hardly ever, or whenever they first came out with matte taco, that's when I bought this bottle. I hardly ever do matte manis. I should. I always like the way it looks, but I just forget that it's an option most of the time. So yeah, I don't do them often enough. I really like how this looks matte though. This is really nice. I think it's like easier to see the nail art too, which is nice. You had one from Five Below. Is that like a dollar store kind of place? If it's an American dollar store, I don't know any of those. I only know Canadian chains. The matte ability died? Really? I haven't had that happen, but they certainly get less matte as you wear them, but I've had a couple of times where for whatever reason the matte hasn't worked, like it stayed glossy or satiny, but then like the next time I used it, it worked fine, so I don't know. I don't know if it was because whatever I had underneath it was too wet still or what went on with it, but sometimes I think like humidity in the room and things like that can have an effect on that sort of thing as well. Anyway, that's it. That's my penguins. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm gonna go post this VOD and take some photos of my penguins, and then I'm gonna go hang out with my husband for the rest of the night. But thanks for joining, and thanks to I forget who suggested it in the Discord, but yeah, it was a good suggestion. I'm glad I ended up doing the penguins. All right, have a good night, everybody. Bye.